Thinker on Freethinker Radio, Truth Radio Networks, Inception Radio, and of course our good friends at TalkStream Live. We are live. It is Thursday, the 2nd of December. We have a very special 2 hours lined up. In particular, more specifically, the second hour, because we have a return guest by popular demand, special guest, Robert Scott Bell. All things health, health hero, someone that is super knowledgeable, and one of the most decent people I have encountered in radio and in life. So the health hero, someone who understands all the dynamics of natural health and healing, but also political healing and beyond. So we're so glad to have Robert Scott Bell as a return guest, second hour, the full hour. So we will have that available on podcast later tonight, and we look forward to Robert's appearance starting at 3:05 Eastern Time. So tell your friends and spread the word. He will be on with us live. And those of you that listen to Michael Savage, you know that he is a frequent health contributor on the Savage program. And so we're glad to have him on board with us. And we call him a friend and someone who is a colleague and someone that is, you've heard Doc Mike and some others say, they got 35 million. No, let me just say this. There was a time that Dr. Dean Adele, that's right, he retired today. Bye-bye, see ya. The establishment doctor in California. Oh, that's right, because KGO, his home station, canceled his program. So he gave up, and he's going away. But let me just say this. Robert Scott Bell was on the number 2 syndicated network on Sundays for more than 8 years. I don't remember the exact. It could be 7.5, could be 8.5, 9, but somewhere, maybe even close to an entire decade. And he had, from my understanding, the highest rated and highest ranked health-related program, alternative health and natural healing, in the United States, maybe even worldwide. And he never touted that, never tooted his own horn, because he's someone that is, he's modest. But I'll toot his horn for him. But Robert's made major contributions in the health and natural healing field and in so many ways, and he's touched our lives, and we respect him, and we appreciate him very much. So he'll be with us in the second hour. Now, let's get to heroes and zeros. Let's get to the villains and the victors. Let's get to the Hall of Fame and Hall of Shame. And Michael Savage, you have hit it out of the park again. You're a Hall of Famer again. Man, blistering expose. I mean, right on the money about the banksters and the gangsters. No doubt about it that $9 trillion was transferred. That's right. $9 trillion subsidized the banksters of not only the United States but the world. And I alluded to it last week. Actually yesterday. But we were talking about, the TARP and the bailouts and the banksters and the gangsters. But this report was issued, and the Federal Reserve had to comply. And guess who another hero is? And this one, actually, he made the Hall of Fame one other time. And it pains me to do this. But, that's what's different about this program. What makes us distinct and what differentiates us between this program and many others is that we'll give credit to those we don't even like, or we don't respect, or might not even have a lot in common with. And that's United States Senator Bernie Sanders, independent, but truly indeed a socialist. And Bernie Sanders did not like the response he got from Bernanke when they had a hearing on these bank bailouts and loans, and he said, we'd like a list from the Federal Reserve, and you're the chairman, of who this money went to and how much. He said, essentially, Bernanke said, no, I'm not going to provide that. He said, really? You're not going to provide that? Well, Bernie Sanders got together with his colleagues and said, we're going to pass a bill or an act that's going to force them, by law, mandate that we get this list. And my hat's off to, and I salute Bernie Sanders for doing the right thing, for the right reasons, on this particular situation. That reminds me of the days when we went after NAFTA and GATT, and I talked about the strange bedfellows then. You had Ralph Nader and Ross Perot and Chuck Harder and Tom Donahue and Bo Greitz and Pat Buchanan and Jerry Brown. But we were all nationalists and protectionists and said, hey, we disagree on a lot of things. But we said, but we're not going to be complicit, and we're certainly not going to lie down as it relates to selling out our national sovereignty and selling out the industrial base of this country, and all for alleged corporate free enterprise. And you know what that means? That means just corporate socialism and slave labor. Okay? And so on this particular situation, you have the Ron Pauls, of course, and then you have Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders he was very modest. He was on one of the news programs, and he said, well, we're just holding them accountable. And now they've got the list. Now, we don't know if this is the authentic list, but just this alone is damning enough. $9 trillion. These low-interest, government-backed loans, and who knows if they'll ever pay them back. And they're bookkeeping entries anyway. But again, these weren't just United States banks. These are foreign banks. So we've got to give a lot of praise and credit to Bernie Sanders. And again, it pains me, but even though he's a socialist, admittedly so, and he declares himself as an independent, but he's doing the right thing. Amazing. Another person I have to put in the Hall of Fame, and it pains me to do this too, is Eliot Spitzer. Eliot Spitzer, we're talking about a blistering expose on the Federal Reserve. He hammered them. Apparently wrote an opinion piece in the New York Times as well, and talked about their secrecy and their conspiring, the complicity here of the Fed with these international banking houses. And so, I'm telling you, the lid is being blown off the Federal Reserve. You know, all this privacy and secrecy and chicanery and shenanigans that's going on. I think there's a groundswell happening here, and if the tale of two Pauls don't really capitalize on this, I mean, this is the time. There's been never a better time that the American people would say, $9 trillion. Are you kidding me? Are they out of their minds? So, strangely enough, I'm sorry, Michael, but you have to share the Hall of Fame today with Bernie Sanders and Eliot Spitzer. But hey, if they're doing the right things, we've got to applaud them. We need more people on the team of saying, end the Fed. Let me put another guy back in the Hall of Shame again, Mike Gallagher. He had his buddy, a love fest, with Lindsey Graham, a love letter. Senator Lindsey Graham, what a creep and cretin he is. He said, I came to Washington to get things done. And that means comprehensive immigration reform, even though it's not popular. Ah, shut up. Man. Oh, the other thing that Savage did that was so brilliant, he just said, okay, I'm going after full force. I mean, we're talking about a tsunami of force against the wall banger and against the golfer. And if you've listened to Savage, and I know most of you probably have, probably even on a regular basis, the wall banger is because the blockhead Hannity, he used to hang wallpaper. And there's not even enough evidence to suggest he even graduated high school. But hey, Savage is a PhD guy, much more learned than I am, and I love the fact that he says that education sometimes it does matter. Just like life experience matters. And so, I mean, if you want to listen to a guy that has high intellect and uses that intellect for all the right reasons, well, except for the recipes, but overall, the program is top drawer. And so he really, really gave it to him, really reamed reamed out the wall banger and the golfer and said, just like I've said all along, that these guys were suck-ups and sellouts, and they're just mouthpieces for the Republican Party. They've always been the water boys. They've always been the bus boys and the maitre d's for corporate America and the Republican Party, the grand old party. So I am so glad that someone in his esteemed position as the number 3 radio host in America, and don't listen to Beck, he lied. He one book, ratings book, he was tied statistically with Savage number 3. But Savage, in radio, 6 o'clock at night is not considered prime time. It's almost becoming, well, I don't know what they call it, early. Well, it's not quite, well, that's just the way radio is. I mean, people start switching over to television, but Savage changed that dynamic. And people still stay with that program, and I'm telling you, that program continues on TalkStream Live to get stronger and stronger. Even in replays, it pounds most of the competition. So-called competition. But anyway, so they're my nominees. Not only nominees, I guess, hey, I got full reign here, so I can just put them right on in. I don't have to wait on some board of directors. I don't have to wait on some popular vote, people texting it in. But in time, I'm going to ask for your suggestions, and we'll either set up a poll or we'll set up some way that you guys can communicate with me. Maybe be the communicate function, however it might be, with Twitter, where I'll ask for your nominees. Now, I also want your nominees for, I'm going to have a top list. I think last year I did like a top 10 of the most, and the media does this. I mean, the lamestream as well, so it's not that novel. But we'll count down what I think were the top persons and the top events, at least from our perspective, meaning a constitution, coming from a constitutional framework, coming from a truth, patriot, freedom, liberty perspective. So a lot of exciting things coming up this month. And again, I want to remind you, Robert Scott Bell, special guest next hour, all things health, all things natural, all things healing. And one of my favorite guests will be with us next hour. So make sure you spread the word far and wide. I know we're coming up on a break here in mere moments, and I want you to listen up closely. It's either going to be this break or the next. We've added the new specials from Del Valley Silver. So we've got like a mini ad that's kind of tied to the main ad, and you'll be able to listen to all those specials, especially for the holidays, those stocking stuffers and the gifts you want to give. So listen up for those. And it's a brand new ad, a mini ad that accompanies the primary ad. Right back, hold tight. Tom Donahue, Freethinker Radio. Hi, I'm Tom Donahue for Del Valley Silver. Learn to barter and trade with like-minded folks, fostering communities trading together while boosting the local economy. The Del Valley Silver model, free consumer memberships, and paid merchant advertising. Sell the silver as close to the spot rate as possible, enabling merchants to offer a silver premium when used for barter. This is a solid opportunity to promote real money and prosper in a free enterprise system. Truly a grassroots effort to shop and trade in your local neighborhoods. Del Valley Silver prices are the most reasonable. In fact, 1-ounce medallions have been lowered to just $1.40 over the spot rate. An additional price break, $1.20 over spot on all bulk orders of 100 ounces or more. That includes free shipping. Even more, now through the end of the year, bonus value, a free small pouch included with any $75 purchase and $8 value. Place TOM in the promo code, T-O-M, TOM in the promo code. Promoting solid, secure, sovereign solutions, Del Valley Silver. Be sure to click on the banners at Freethinker Radio or at TalkStream Live, or simply go to DelValleySilver.com. DelValleySilver.com. Del Valley Silver special holiday season silver medallion gift packs featuring 1-ounce, half ounce and quarter ounce plus mini pouch for $55. This small bundle is one of each denomination plus the mini pouch for $55. Or the medium bundle is two of each denomination plus a small pouch for $105. Place Tom in the promo code. Be sure to click on the banners at freethinkerradio.com or talkstreamlive.com, or simply go directly to DellValleySilver.com, promoting solid, secure, sovereign solutions. Dell Valley Silver. Truth Radio Networks, Inception Radio, and of course our good friends at TalkStream Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Special guest next hour, Robert Scott Bell. Many of you have heard him on Michael Savage's program and contributes on a weekly basis, generally. And we've had him on as a frequent guest, and we're so glad to have him back on with our independent syndication and production here. And again, we want to welcome a new affiliate partner that'll start on Monday. That's going to be the Orion Radio Network, Micro 1650 AM, and that'll be for the second hour starting this Monday, December 6th. So we're looking forward to another affiliate partner joining us. And we've only just begun. We're going to continue looking for those that are seeking truth in all matters, that believe in patriotism and action, that believe in putting this country first, and saying no to global government, New World Order. And I have to say, Michael Savage did such... I was listening to it very late at night, and so I was kind of I almost faded out. I'm like, wow, I mean, he's really rocking. And I'm telling you, it was a blistering, scathing attack on the wall banger. I mean, it was an in-depth attack on the stooges, and they really are stooges. I mean, these are just mindless zombies. Republicanism, these are the bogus conservatives that will not challenge any Republican. Maybe they might challenge a little bit someone like Lindsey Graham. Well, Mike Gallagher won't. But yeah, it's very rare. I mean, it's extremely rare. Yeah, they did a little attacking on McCain, then they rallied the troops and joined forces with McCain. They did the same thing with Huckabee, and then they hired him. But again, they are Republicans first and conservatives second, and probably Americans third. And it's all about party rather than principles. And I've got a message for them, and it's something I can't even say on the air. Of the blockhead, the jughead, the Jay Leno lookalike, goofball, Sean Hannity. I'd have a few choice words for them, and it might not be pretty. But some people say, you're too pugnacious. Wait a minute. Our country is on the precipice. Our country is about ready to go over the edge. I mean, we're in dire straits, and we have time to just say, let's play the party game. Now, I'll give them some party favors, all right. How about a five-knuckle sandwich? No, it is time to get our ire up. It's time to get our mojo on. It's time to challenge these people. And we can't do it just in a very cordial and kind and courteous way. We're past that. So, yeah, I have some tough words, and I'll back it up with substance, I'll back it up with facts, and I'll back it up with experience. So these are the things that you're going to learn. These are the things that we're going to cover. And hey, if this is too hardcore for you, if this is too advanced for you, well, then go over to Tammyville Harbors, okay? And salivate over Palin, who's already been coronated president over there. You know, you can go, hey, the Wallbanger, he'll be coming up here, the Jughead. You can take a trip down Hannity Lane. Hey, the Medhead, he'll help you with exposing all the conspiracy theories. So you can go to Medheadville. But if you really want the truth, and that's what this program focuses on, the unvarnished truth, the unfettered truth, well, then you have found your home for patriotism in action. You found your home. If you're part of the Patriot, Freedom, Constitutional, Truth movements, then welcome aboard. But no, Savage knocked it out of the park. He really laid out the banksters and gangsters. $9 trillion. Not only domestic, but international banksters and gangsters. I mean, that's how much. Well, I guess you almost have to say, was there a transfer of wealth? No, it's bookkeeping entries. And anytime you thought that the Federal Reserve wasn't connected worldwide with the Bank of England, with the Bank of International Settlements, with the IMF, with the Rothschilds, come on, Goldman Sachs. Here they are. I mean, Bernanke actually believed that a United States senator has no right to question or ask what they're doing with the money. I don't know if you want to call it money, but let's just say the credit, the currency of the United States government, and a United States senator from a sovereign state doesn't have the right to say, who'd you loan it to? And how much? What were the terms? So again, surprisingly, I've had to put United States Senator Bernie Sanders in the Hall of Fame. Now, he won't last there long. But sometimes people have pangs of conscience. Sometimes people actually are patriotic, even though their patriotism is hard to decipher sometimes and understand. So, and then Elliot Spitzer. Now, apparently, little Miss Parker is not happy because she's being overshadowed. Well, you don't have a personality that's compelling or dynamic or charismatic enough, and I have to say, Elliot Spitzer does. I mean, personally, he's a despicable person, but I mean, the guy is. I mean, he's got a brilliant mind, and we know what he was able to accomplish with his legal career. Now, that would be the right guy to say, okay, if you really feel this strongly about the Fed, we're going to put you on a commission. And we're going to give you subpoena power. I'm telling you, maybe we're onto something here. Get him off CNN. Now, this guy, I mean, you want to talk about a bulldog in the courts. And, I mean, you saw how he went after, the crime families. And he went after drug syndicates, and he went after corrupt politicians, even though he had his grimy hands in places that we'd rather not discuss. But, the bottom line is, maybe he's the right guy. I mean, talk about ferocious and tenacious and pugnacious, and I mean, maybe we found the guy that says this is the guy that's going to prosecute the Volckers, the Greenspans, the Bernankes, the Geithners, the Paulsons. I kind of like this idea. Maybe we got to work on this. I mean, who else in the legal community would you recommend that could go after them with such ferociousness and velocity? I can't think of anybody. I mean, we haven't heard from the cowboy in Wyoming in a while. I mean, he did a great job in the Ruby Ridge case, Randy Weaver case. But, I mean, how many legal eagles really would be willing to step up to the plate and play at that level And that's what's got to be. These people have to be prosecuted. Yeah, we just don't have a fact-finding commission. We're talking about criminal prosecutions here. And I still haven't heard an answer back from Michelle Bachmann. I'm going to start calling her office. I want to know where the gold is. Okay, the Beck clown, I threw it out there as a question about 2 weeks ago. The crybaby and clown, he threw out a good question finally. And so Michelle Bachmann said, I don't know. I'll find out for you. Okay, well, Michelle Bachmann, Bernie Sanders, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, whomever else is interested, Jim DeMint, okay, take a field trip. And you need to go to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. I mean, even Eustace Mullins. Do you know Eustace Mullins met with, and his name, strangely enough, ironically, was Joseph Coyne. And I believe the year was 1982, because it was 81 or 82. But right around that time, when Eustace Mullins updated his book, The Secrets of the Federal Reserve. And so he decided, okay, I'm going to go right to Washington, D.C. and talk to the chief administrator. Joseph Coyne welcomed Eustace Mullins. He came into the office, and he sat down, and he had Eustace Mullins' books right there on his bookshelf. He said, I'm very familiar with you, Mr. Mullins. So Mullins, Eustace actually asked him, he said, I'd like to get a copy of the member banks and their stockholder shares in each of the 12 district banks. He looked at him and said, you know that? And then he also followed up by asking Eustace Mullins, he said, no, not asking, he actually explained to Eustace, he said, you're the only person that ever asked me for such documents. And he said, well, you have to pay the printing cost, the copying costs. He said, not a problem. So he started asking Eustace a few questions about his books and his research. And as soon as they copied it was a lot of pages. Matter of fact, there was a time where I said, well, Eustace, I said, well, I think what our members and people that come to our conferences and seminars and rallies in Dallas are most interested in are the member banks and the percentage of shares that these banks own in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and in Dallas. So that's all I asked him for at that time. And it was a complete list of all the banks. But, most of the banks only own like 1 share or 5 shares. It was the big banks. And at that time, 5 money center banks in New York owned 63% of the shares of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which is the money center, and that's the real hub. That's where the real decisions are made, and all the others are more, kind of window dressing, kind of perfunctory. They just kind of provide minimum services and processing and all that. But the real power emanates from New York. Wall Street, the banksters, the gangsters. And so Eustace Mullins was the first to ever uncover the fact, because he used to do a lot of research there and actually lived there. They didn't even know it. He was sleeping on couches and in the facilities there at the Library of Congress. He actually worked there for a time, so he could do more research. And Ezra Pound commissioned his work to research, who was behind communism and who controlled the monetary power of the United States. Who was the monetary dictators? And so Mullins was able to uncover these monetary tyrants and these monetary moguls. And so I just wanted to share that with you. So yes, there's member banks that own shares, but the way they make it look equitable or fair is that, see, look at that little bank and the Sticks. They own a couple shares. Yeah, but they don't make any decisions. So anyway, Bernanke was forced to give up this list. And thankfully, there's a groundswell of anger. I mean, you talk about the populace hostility. I mean, boiling over. $9 trillion, and we're in a deep, deep recession. Really a depression, because even the wall banger, the blockhead, and who else was it? I think it was even one of the ones on the Meltdown Network. They said, well, the unemployment rate might be hovering just below 10%. It's based on the way the government figures it. But in reality, the unemployment rate is well above 17% and could be much greater than that. And then the underemployment, or people that just from time to time have a little part-time work, it's well over 25%. But the government says, hey, unless you're getting benefits and you're on the active roll, we don't even count you anymore. It means, so in their minds, you're fully employed somewhere. Or you're chalked off the list. You don't count anymore. So I don't know how they get away with using these bogus figures. And you would think that the Republicans would use this more, but then they realize it would ricochet, boomerang on them when they're in power and say, hey, wait a minute, the real unemployment rate is, so it's sort of like a dirty little secret. They don't discuss it. They'll just say, oh, it's 9 point bop, bop, bop. Mm-hmm. So I'm just really excited. I'm encouraged. I'm optimistic that finally all this work that the Mullins and the G. Edward Griffins and various other people, whether it be a Bo Greitz or a Jack McGlam or a Tex Mars or a Ralph Epperson and there's so many others that have contributed to exposing this private syndicate. And the fact is it's unconstitutional. And now when you've got Elliot Spitzer on CNN spending a lot of time, and we talked how he had this conversation with Ben Stein, and this came up. So this was kind of like the forerunner, the precursor to now it's full-blown expose time. And so, I mean, you've got some strange bedfellows here, but I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. If you're an American, and if you want fairness and justice, and you want the Constitution followed. Now, some might say with the WikiLeaks that, well, it's good that we should have open and transparent government. All the secrets should be out. Well, I think that if you're going to endanger lives, I think if you're going to compromise, lawful, legitimate relations with other countries, that's not something that needs to be exposed. But if all of a sudden, they're concocting a war, if there's certain specifics that endanger our national security or our national interest or undermines the Constitution, subverts the Constitution, then yes, bring it to the media and expose it. But just to dump everything out there, that's like saying, okay, we should all go naked in life, and you have no privacy. Well, the government has to have a little bit of privacy if it's conducting legitimate, lawful, constitutional government. If it's really doing its duty, but if they're not, then at least responsibly, yes, it should be exposed. Coming right back, Tom Donahue, Freethinker Radio. Hi, I'm Tom Donahue for Discount Gold and Silver Trading, the most respected leader in the precious metals field, offering you the most personalized and professional services from a patriot and constitutional perspective. Learn how to protect your hard-earned savings. Consider converting your paper funds to hard assets. Constitutional, biblical-based currency with intrinsic worth and tangible wealth. Go for the gold. Set your own gold standard. I recommend you do business with Melody Cedarstrom at Discount Gold and Silver Trading. Let her assist you in protecting your financial future today. Don't delay. Your financial future may depend on it. Solid, sound, sensible solutions offered. Call 1-800-375-4188. 800-375-4188. DiscountGoldAndSilverTrading.net. DiscountGoldAndSilverTrading.net, or click on the banners at freethinkerradio.com.
You have heard Tom Donahue share with you his enthusiastic personal endorsement of Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company, a proud sponsor. It is time for you to try Power Vites and Power Mates. Both are 100% natural vitamin and herbal products like no others on the market. What makes these supplements so special is that they contain an active probiotics base, easy to digest, easy to absorb. Only the finest, freshest ingredients are used in these nutrient blends formulated in small batches locally by the Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company's developer, Karen Horvat. Be sure to discover the specialty formulas, Diabetics, Sunny, and Power Sleep. Reasonable pricing got even better. Enter TOM, T-O-M, in the promo code and get 10% off your order. Click on the Green Turtle Bay banner found at freethinkerradio.com. Protect and promote your health today with Power Bites and Power Mates. Be sure to mention or enter TOM in the promo code to get 10% off your order.
Radio, Truth Radio Networks, Inception Radio, and of course our good friends at TalkStream Live. And I'm going right to the Drudge Report. And Drudge, you're in the Hall of Fame too. Didn't mean to leave you out earlier, but I'm telling you, the reporting that he's done on certain very vital, very key issues, crucial, groundbreaking as it related to the Bilderbergs. And here we go with the Fed. The Fed secretly bailed out GE. Yeah. GE news outlets failed to reveal in Fed coverage. Bombshell. European banks took a big slice of the aid. Hundreds of billions of dollars. Fed reveals global extent of its backing. Bank of America becoming Bank of Asia as revenue increases 30%. More secrets. The Fed withholds data for $885 billion in loans. And they show a picture of Bernanke. It says Santa Claus. Fed aid went all over companies, banks, offshore. These are all the lead stories. I salute you for your fine efforts here. And so all those people that thought Ron Paul, yours truly, Eustace Mullins, Bo Greitz, and the list goes on and on, were all nuts, all conspiracy wackos. There's nothing wrong with the Fed. We learned in our economics class. Blah, fine. Shut up. Read the United States Constitution, Articles 1, Section 8 and 10, and it's really clear. I don't care if they passed the Federal Reserve Act. It didn't amend the Constitution, didn't change anything fundamentally. And even if they did, if they passed an amendment, it still couldn't change it. Anything is diametrically opposed to the fundamental bedrock principles as it relates to rights and freedoms, the founders would roll over in their grave. They would be unaccepting of this. Now, Alexander Hamilton would be very pleased with a Federal Reserve System because he was the Rothschild agent that helped initiate and enact the first Bank of the United States. And Thomas Jefferson opposed him every which way. Andrew Jackson also opposed the banksters and gangsters. Some say even Lincoln may have. Ronald Reagan, when he became too critical of the tax system and the Federal Reserve, well, the Manchurian candidate, the Bush family, the son of the Bushes are close to the Hinckleys. You can do the research and find out on your own. He was shot. Kennedy, we know. I talked about that at length, and you can go back to the podcast where I talked about that at tomdonahue.podomatic.com. And with Jim Mars, the author of, Crossfire, the plot that killed Kennedy, I told you the story where in the Dallas Morning News, Dallas Life Magazine edition, the article "Monetary Revolutionaries," it was really a a glossy piece. You know, it was an extended story on myself and our organization, the American Liberty Association, in 1987. Had to do with the bicentennial celebration of the Constitution. And it was called, the title of the article was Monetary Revolutionaries. They believe a secret conspiracy rules the world. They believe having a social security number gives ground to the enemy, and they believe that they can do as they wish with their own money. That third one was a little bit paraphrased there, but yeah, that's essentially what the subtitles or the subheaders to the Monetary Revolutionaries story in the Dallas Morning News, Dallas Life Magazine Sunday edition. Now, when Jim Marrs read that, he said, "What is it? What are you talking about? These United States Treasury notes, not Federal Reserve notes? Do you have copies of those?" "Yes, I do." "Could we meet for lunch? I'd like to see them." And I showed him the $2 and $5 bills with the green seal. With the red seal, not the green seal. And it said United States Treasury note as opposed to Federal Reserve note. And indeed, Kennedy did issue an executive order, and he started with small denominations. He didn't want to cause a tidal wave, or he didn't want to disrupt the markets. And so the experiment was, let's do it with $2 and $5 bills, which meant that those bills did not bear any interest to this private monopolistic syndicate. And so I was glad in a small way to influence one of the premier authors that deals with conspiracies, Jim Marrs. And it's funny that you have two Marrs that are doing great work, Jim Marrs and Tex Marrs. And they're not related, but they do live, or I should say they reside, in the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State. Jim Marrs is somewhere in the area of around Fort Worth, I believe, and Tex Marrs is closer to Austin, Texas. I think he's right there directly in Austin, Texas. So two very fine and prominent authors that have done exemplary work. Okay, so the Drudge Report is right on the money. These are the lead. I mean, this is the most viewed website as it relates to news stories in the world. Okay? And if we don't galvanize people, not only in the United States, but worldwide, that the gig is up, and that we're now on to you, and quite frankly, you are now the target of a criminal prosecution, not just an inquiry, but let's even go past the inquiry. But I'm telling you, this is a bombshell. I mean, this is huge. This is over the top big. And it's a day to say, you know what? Get on the horn, get on the keypads, and start telling your congressmen and senators that you want a full-fledged investigation, absolutely a public inquiry, and leading to a criminal prosecution. And I also want you, when you're talking to your congressman or senator, I want you to tell them that in addition to this, you want them to take a field trip to Fort Knox, and even to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York in particular. And you want to see the hard assets. You want to see what are you. Okay, you folks confiscated. You confiscated the lawful constitutional money. And we know that for a fact because, we know what Roosevelt did in 1933. Unconstitutionally, unlawfully, stole the wealth of the American people, meaning their gold. And then Nixon robbed us of our silver. So there's no gold standard, no silver standard, no backing of this currency. And if you don't understand some basics here, a dollar is simply defined as a unit of measurement. And what are they measuring? Nothing. If you want to go and do the research, I remember I was in possession of, in 1982, the Federal Reserve put out a booklet. It was called Modern Money Mechanics, probably still available. And in there, they reveal that there is no intrinsic value to the currency. And it's only the confidence that people have in that currency that keep it afloat. So it's a confidence game, a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid. The all-seeing eye of the pyramid, yeah. And that's about ready to topple. And let me tell you something else. This currency as is an abomination. And let me just say this, that when you put in the words, when they placed later on, I think it was the 1940s, but or it was either the 40s or 50s. I think it was the 50s. When they placed "In God We Trust" on the currency, to me that's sacrilegious. To me, it's defiling God himself, because God would never endorse a currency that didn't have real value, that did not have just weights and measures. The Bible clearly talks about just weights and measures. And the biblical economic lessons always talked about gold and silver and things of substance and barter and exchange and honest trade. So this house of cards is starting to topple. And if the tale of two Pauls don't seize this moment in time, and if they're worried about just streamlining and trimming and oversight, and shut up already. It's a call to action. And we need heroes. We need men and women of courage to stand up and stand tall and be counted now. And I'm telling you, we need to encourage any man or woman that you think has even a small amount of gravitas, a small amount of cojones, as any, even an inkling of courageous blood that might be stirring or flowing. But it's going to take some courage. But again, it took a lot more courage for the George Hansons and the Ron Pauls years ago to take a stand. And there were others like Patterson from the past, and there's McFadden, and so there were others that preceded them. But let me just tell you, we're looking for men and women of courage that will stand up, take their oath seriously, and go after the Federal Reserve System. If this isn't enough to inspire, I mean, if you've got Elliot Spitzer incensed to this level, and you have a socialist even, and you might say, well, I want to question his motivation. Don't question his motivation right now. We don't have time for that. Even Alan Grayson, who was a bit wacky, voted out of office, he was right. He actually understood that the Federal Reserve was an unconstitutional, unlawful body and one that was abusive and needed to be at minimum audited. So I'm not worried about where people stand on other issues. This issue is a defining issue of our generation. There is nothing more important to be tackling in the political arena than the Federal Reserve System. There is no other issue that matters more. Why don't you get that? Why don't you understand that? Wake up, knuckleheads. There is no other issue that warrants more importance. This is the significant issue. It is the overarching, overriding issue. It trumps all other issues, but it's not part of the Tea Party program. It's not part of the Republican or Democrat parties' platforms or programs. No. This is the hot tamale. Too hot to hold, too hot to handle, too hot to act upon. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, there is no better time. And I've been an observer of these issues for 3 decades. And I've been involved with the late, great Eustace Mullins, among others. And I'm telling you that any other issue I'd bring up, it always would come back to it's the money powers. It's the money magicians. It's the money manipulators. These are the villains. And so it is high time that we join together and go after these people. And I'm not just talking about Bernanke and the current crop. I'm talking about all parties that have been affiliated, that have made these dastardly decisions and deeds as it relates to our economic well-being. Our economic survival depends on the abolition of the Federal Reserve System. Not just the audit, but the abolition. And I'm telling you that Savage is right on the money, and I hope he stays on it. And our sponsors are right on the money. And they traffic in the real money. We're talking about DellValleySilver.com. We're talking about DiscountGoldAndSilverTrading.net. Those banners you can see prominently displayed at freethinkerradio.com. If you want to learn more about barter and exchange and lawful, honest, constitutional money, well, they're the two companies I would highly, 5-star ratings, recommend. Tom Donahue, Freethinker Radio. Robert Scott Bell up next on the other side of the break, and he'll be my special guest for the full hour.